All right, guys, it's day 1,573 of getting sued by Impossible Foods. I'm actually going to a comedy show right now. I got my joke book with me, but I was driving down here and I was thinking about some stuff in the CPG MAHA space. So this is more of a business breakdown and some of my just macro thoughts on the space in general. So if that's boring to you, tough. So anyways, what's happening, guys, is if you don't know about MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, this is RFK's thing. He's really fighting to remove artificial ingredients, artificial food dyes, and just, all this artificial sweetener stuff from a whole wide array of products. And whether or not you like them or not, it's hard to deny that they've been pretty successful by their standards. So they've got major commitments from people like Smucker's, Pepsi, from Kellogg's, and a whole consortium of consumer brands to be like, hey, we're going to be removing these things over the next 2 years. So they're doing a pretty good job according to their own definition of success. But what makes that interesting for CPG is that over the last few years, you've had a whole slew of companies in the food tech space get very high. And whatever food tech means, typically it usually means companies are raising a bunch of money to develop proprietary ingredients, usually artificial ones. I think they classify as like food additives or food dyes with the FDA. But they basically create this whole, slew of ingredients, and that's their USP for their product. It's what makes them unique. It's what they're differentiated, and kind of what they say makes their food good. And so they raise billions and billions of dollars on this, on the promise to transform the food industry. And what's happened is that was 6 or 7 years ago, and those companies haven't been as profitable as maybe they hoped to be. And so you run into a spot where they want to keep the company going, and there's only a few things you can do, right? So option number one is you raise more money. That's getting harder and harder for those companies because investors have already put in billions of dollars and they haven't seen a profit yet. So they're like, hey, let's not put billions more, right? Kind of makes sense. The other option is you IPO, you go on the public markets. And a couple of these went out and tried that, and it didn't go so great. It popped at first, but when people realized that maybe there wasn't the business case for it, those companies are now trading down 90% or more sometimes. And so it's really hard to follow that. If your predecessors are down 90%, you can't be like, hey, let's go do that too. And so then the third option is you go get acquired by a strategic, one of these big portfolio companies that owns all these different brands, and you use their infrastructure. And that's really interesting because a lot of these portfolio companies are the ones that have just committed to removing artificial dyes, ingredients, and sweeteners from their products. And these overcapitalized food tech brands, their main USP, the reason that makes them unique, is their own version of an artificial food dye, ingredient, or sweetener. It's like this proprietary IP that they have, right? And so you kind of get into a real uncomfortable situation where you're running a not super profitable company. You can't really raise more money. You can't really IPO, and you can't really position yourself to be acquired because the thing that makes you unique is also sort of toxic to the commitment that a lot of these acquiring companies have just made to remove all these artificial dyes, ingredients, and sweeteners. And so this isn't necessarily a commentary on one specific company. It's more of just like a view of what's happening in the macro space overall. But I think you're going to see a lot of these companies that raised a bunch of money get really uncomfortable over the next few months and next few years, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of exit ramps for them. And I'm really curious on how it's going to play out. So again, guys, I was just driving down to a comedy show. These are kind of thoughts off the top of my head. It could be right, could be wrong. I'm really curious what you guys think, if I'm reading the situation correctly. But yeah, it seems like it's going to make for an interesting next few years for sure. So guys, today is day 1,573 of getting sued by Impossible Foods. I'm going to go do a comedy show, and I will see you here tomorrow.